There's a feeling you've carried your whole life. Not sadness, not fear, but something harder to name. A kind of distance. Like you've been here before, but you don't belong here. Like you've always felt the world pressing in. Too loud, too fast, too small. And maybe no one said it out loud. Maybe no one told you the truth. But I will. You were never meant to be human. At least, not just human. You came from something bigger. Not a place, but a presence. Not a galaxy, but a frequency. And that frequency doesn't fit in this world easily. That's why it hurts. That's why you feel everything deeper. That's why you question things no one else even sees. Because deep down, you've always known. You didn't come here to adapt. You came here to remember. You didn't land here by mistake. This wasn't punishment. It was choice. A choice made before you had a name, a body, or a story. You saw the density of this world, the chaos, the forgetting, the noise, and you came anyway. Why? Because you carried something Earth forgot, something ancient, something not found in books or rituals, but embedded in your very frequency. That's why the human experience has always felt tight, like a suit one size too small, like a language you were expected to speak, but never quite understood. You tried to fit in, tried to be normal, but every attempt only deepened the ache, because you weren't here to fit. You were here to shift, to walk through this human story with a non-human memory, to feel what they feel, fear, grief, anger, but to respond with something higher, not better, not superior, just different. And in that difference, you begin to remember, this body is temporary, this mind is a lens, but what you are is eternal. Most people search their whole lives for belonging, for proof that they're not broken, not lost, not wrong for feeling out of place. But what if your disconnection wasn't a defect? What if it was a signal? A whisper from beyond the veil, reminding you of what you came here to do. Because only those who remember not fitting in truly remember what they came from. You didn't come to fix the world. You came to hold a frequency that couldn't exist here unless someone anchored it. And that someone is you. You're not here to preach. You're here to be, to live in a way that confuses the matrix. Because your joy doesn't depend on control. Your peace doesn't depend on approval. Your truth doesn't ask for permission. And yes, that makes you a threat to the systems built on fear. But it also makes you a mirror for those still asleep, a doorway for those still searching, not because you have all the answers, but because you're finally done pretending. You were encoded with memory, but it's not stored in your mind. It's in your frequency. It's why certain sounds move you, why certain symbols feel familiar, why silence feels more like home than words ever could. You're not just living a life, You're radiating a pattern, and that pattern doesn't come from Earth. It's older than language, older than light. It speaks in vibration. So when you walk into a room, you shift it without saying a word. When you speak your truth, you wake up things in people they forgot they were holding. Not because you're trying to teach, but because you're simply remembering. And that remembering is contagious. The world doesn't change when new systems are built. It changes when new beings walk among it. Beings like you. Beings who never really belonged here, but came anyway. Not to dominate, but to activate. You were never meant to fit into the human mold. You were meant to melt it. You don't need a grand mission statement. You don't need a cosmic title or a galactic origin story. The truth is simpler, quieter, but far more powerful. Your mission was always to remember who you are, while inside something you're not. To feel the density of human fear without becoming it. To move through their pain without absorbing their stories. To love with the kind of silence that doesn't need to be understood to be felt. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to vibrate differently. Not louder, not holier, just truer. And when you live from that truth, without apology, without translation, something begins to shift, not just in you, but in those around you. They don't know why, but they breathe easier in your presence. They feel more seen, more real, because your frequency gives them permission to stop pretending too. You don't need to wake people up, just stay awake, and they'll feel the difference. The world doesn't need more noise, more truth shouted from rooftops, more concepts, more awakenings, more spiritual branding. It needs something far more rare, presence without performance. And that's what you came to offer. Not a doctrine, not a destination, just the permission to be deeply, unapologetically real. Because when you show up as you are, without distortion, without armor, the illusion begins to crack, not just in you, but in the world around you. The systems built on shame can't survive your self-acceptance. The cycles of control collapse when you stop needing approval. And the lie that this is all there is begins to dissolve when your frequency says otherwise, without saying anything at all. You were never here to fight the dark. You were here to hold the light in a way that makes the dark irrelevant, not through force, but through frequency, not by shouting your origin, but by remembering it quietly. There comes a moment when the lie just doesn't hold anymore. Not because someone proved it wrong, but because your being can no longer support it. You stop playing along, not out of rebellion, but out of alignment. Because the version of you that once needed validation, permission, and structure is falling away. and what's left is quieter but stronger. You begin to question everything. Who told me this is how love works? Who decided my worth should be measured in output? Who said the only real things are what we can see? And more importantly, why did I believe them? The moment you ask, that is the moment reality begins to bend. Because you're no longer reacting to the world. You're rewriting it. Not with rage, but with remembrance. Not with force, but with presence. And it's here, in this quiet refusal to keep pretending, that you reclaim the one thing they never wanted you to touch. Your creative power. The ability to shape experience from the inside out. The authority to say, no more. Not just to the system, but to every belief that ever made you feel small. You see, remembering who you are was never meant to be an instant download. It was meant to be a process, a gentle peeling back, not just of illusion, but of protection. Because what you carried was fragile. It couldn't be forced open. It had to awaken in its own time, through contrast, through loss, through moments that made you feel like giving up. But you didn't. You stayed. You listened. And piece by piece, the remembering began. Not through visions or voices, but in subtle shifts. You spoke less, felt more, and started trusting the part of you that didn't need external proof. That's when the mission changed. You stopped looking for escape routes, stopped hoping someone would come save you, because you realized you weren't here to be saved. You were here to seed something, a vibration, a knowing, a presence. And the more you embodied it, the less human you felt, but the more whole you became. Not because you transcended this world, but because you finally remembered why you came. You used to wonder what your purpose was, why you felt called to things no one around you could see, why silence felt sacred, why chaos felt heavy, why home never felt like a place. Now you understand. You didn't come here to explain yourself. You came here to be yourself. So fully, so clearly, that others remember who they are just by being near you. You are not here to be loud. You are here to be undeniable. Your frequency speaks long before your mouth does. And what it says is simple. This world is not all there is, and you are more than you've been told. You don't need to wear your origin like armor. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You just need to keep showing up, unfiltered, unapologetic, awake. Because in doing so, you become the bridge between what is and what's possible. The map is encoded in you, not in books, not in systems, but in your very presence. You were never meant to follow the path. You were meant to be the path. infinite. You don't need a label for what you are. Not starseed, not old soul, not wanderer. You are a presence, a living frequency, a quiet disruption to the systems built on forgetting. And now you remember, not because someone told you, not because a guide appeared, but because something deep inside finally said, "This is what I came for." To feel, to remember, to live wide open, even when the world tries to close you. You were never here to escape your humanity. You were here to redefine it, to show that